Jamie Michels had been working for the Federal Railroad Administration for 30 years, and in all that time, he thought he'd seen it all. Derailments, chemical spills, even a few bodies. But that night, the night of the accident on the East Coast Main Line, something changed. That was the night he saw them. It started with a priority call from the response headquarters. 2 trains had collided, a passenger train and a freight hauler carrying hazardous chemicals. The good news? No civilian casualties. The bad news? Several tankers had overturned, and 4 of them carried chemicals volatile enough to wipe out half a town. A 5th freight wagon was unaccounted for, its manifest suspiciously blank. Jamie had seen plenty of clerical screw-ups in his time, but something about this one gnawed at him. Globalchem. The listed owner didn't exist. His gut told him something was off, and Jamie had long since learned to trust his gut. By the time his helicopter touched down at the wreck site, the air was thick with the acrid stench of spilled chemicals. A team of specialists in Level 3 hazmat suits was already at work, securing the known hazardous wagons. Jamie gave the order to evacuate nearby homes. Better to be safe than sorry. Then, he turned his attention to freight wagon number 5. The tanker was matte grey, nondescript, just like any other chemical hauler. But when Jamie stepped closer, he heard it, a sound from inside. A soft, rhythmic tapping. Not mechanical, not random, it was knocking. He exchanged glances with his crew. One of them, a veteran hazmat specialist named Carter, whispered, "What the hell is that?" Jamie had no answer. The crane operator lifted the wagon into position. He radioed down that it felt empty, not the heavy slosh of liquid chemicals inside, not the thick inertia of pressurized gas. Nothing. Jamie felt his stomach tighten. He had spent decades unraveling rail disasters, but this was different. Following protocol, he ran a full exterior test for leaks and radiation. Nothing. The tanker's walls were thick, lined with some kind of alloy that didn't match typical chemical haulers. The blank manifest, the non-existent company, the noises, none of it made sense. Finally, he made the call. He was going to open it. Jamie adjusted his hazmat suit, secured his gloves, and climbed onto the catwalk. The team fell back, watching him as he unscrewed the heavy hatch. He clicked on his flashlight and peered inside. At first, his mind refused to register what he was looking at. Then, his heart nearly stopped. Inside the tanker, crumpled on the metallic floor, lay 4 figures. They weren't human. The first thing Jamie saw was the skin, smooth, a pale grey that shimmered faintly under his flashlight, almost like wet stone. Their limbs were long and thin, with too many joints bending at unnatural angles. Their chests rose and fell in shallow, irregular breaths, and the eyes. The conscious one, because one of them was still alive, locked eyes with Jamie. Its gaze was enormous, black as the void, reflective like pools of ink. Those eyes weren't just looking at him, they were studying him. Its mouth, small, almost non-existent, opened slightly, and a faint clicking noise emerged like chittering insect legs on glass. Jamie's breathing hitched, his flashlight trembled in his grip. The other 3 lay motionless. Were they dead? Unconscious? He didn't know, but the living one, it was hurt. A deep gash ran along its leg, dark fluid, not quite blood, not quite oil, oozing sluggishly. Its chest rose and fell erratically. Jamie felt a primal terror claw up his spine. This thing, this being, was intelligent. It wasn't an animal, it wasn't some experiment gone wrong. It knew it was trapped. It knew something had gone horribly wrong. And now, Jamie knew it too. He slammed the hatch shut. His fingers were shaking. He turned to his crew and barked a single order. Clear the area. Now. They obeyed without question. The last thing he did before stepping back was make a call. Not to his superiors, not to emergency services. The CIA. He hesitated before telling them what he had seen, but before he could even finish, they started asking questions. They weren't surprised. They weren't skeptical. They were prepared, and that scared Jamie more than anything. 30 minutes later, a black military helicopter touched down. A team in hazmat suits, unlike anything Jamie had ever seen, poured out, moving with precision. These weren't standard response teams. They weren't here to contain a chemical spill. They set up a massive containment tent over the tanker. 4 specialized containers, cryopods like something out of a goddamn sci-fi movie, were wheeled inside. 30 minutes later, they were gone. No reports, no debrief, nothing. Jamie never heard anything official about what had happened that night. But a week later, an old friend of his, someone with connections high up, met him for a drink. The friend wouldn't say much, just enough to confirm what Jamie already knew in his gut. "They think these wagons have been moving for a while now," his friend muttered, swirling his whiskey. "Not just this one. Others." "Moving what?" Jamie had asked. His friend just looked at him, eyes shadowed. "Them." From that night forward, every time Jamie saw a chemical container, his heart started racing again. Because now he knew. And he knew that they were still out there.